Good afternoon, everyone. This is Cathy Rodriguez-Aguirre, President and CEO at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And welcome to our weekly Juntos with Cathy, where we bring interesting people in our community who are doing wonderful things to make it better. And I am very excited about today's guest that we have, and we're going to have a really great conversation because there's a lot going on in the area of the arts. Today we have Marie Acosta that is with us, and I want to make sure I tell you everything about her because she is multifaceted. She along with being the executive director emeritus at the Latino Center for Art and Culture. And I hope it's okay I share all of this, Marie, because I was like, wow, there's so much. So she has also worked as an actor. She's a writer. She's been a director, a producer, and a project manager in the arts in lots of different capacities for more than 30 years. And we are fortunate that she chose at some point to make Sacramento her home and be the place where she contributes to. Hi, Marie. How are you?
Hi, Cathy. I'm great. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here. This,
Oh, I was so
I've been
happy
looking.
to have this conversation with you. I know sometimes it takes to actually have like someone on Juntos to be able to ask all the questions I've always wanted to know about a person and what they were doing. But when I pulled out your bio, I know so much about you from our interactions with the community. And I know you as someone that is an incredible executive director here for the Latino Center for Arts and Culture, but I had no idea all the different roles that you have done. So I'm just curious, like for you who's had this long-standing career, Marie, at what point did you decide, you know what, this is where I'm going to live my life? This is my purpose, is the arts. Was there some point when you were very young that you decided this is what I'm going to do?
Yes, I was working with El Teatro Campesino with Luis Valdez,
Oh, wow.
and the Chicano civil rights movement was in big form, high form. It was very active. The issues that we faced then, that we continue to face on some level or another now, were so compelling to me that I saw this as my path forward to make a contribution to a better society, a more just society, and to do it through the arts. Because I almost went into law. I mean, I think that's kind of acting too, but I almost became a lawyer, and I thought, no, I really think that my path is forward in the arts and creating messages for our public, creating fabulous theater, music, dance, visual arts pieces that reflect who we are, reflect our contributions as Latinos in this country.
What do you think it is about the arts that helps tell our story? And you talked about it in the social, the social movement and the social justice. And I've seen different pieces, both at the exhibits and just over the course of time. But what is it about it that makes it such a powerful medium to be able to move things forward?
I think we all have a legacy, a cultural legacy, and we have such a beautiful, rich legacy as Latinos that when we do our work that is rooted in that legacy, it resonates with our families, with our grandparents, with our children on a very visceral level. And those connections, when they're lost, have a detrimental effect on all of us, on our
Yeah.
psychology, on our well-being. Like, do we belong here? Who are we? And as Latinos, I know when I grew up that it was a question, well, who am I? Because we never got that reinforcement that our culture, our color really belonged. And so I find that the arts is a wonderful way to impart that pride in who we are and our centuries old, really, legacy that is so multifaceted. It's Spanish, it's Mexican, it's Native. It's so rich that we can just continue on and on, creating work that our community can say, wow. For example, our Day of the Dead that's coming up, we call it El Panteón de Sacramento. We've been doing it for 12 years. I've had people, Cathy, come up to me and say, thank you so much for doing this. We had lost this tradition. This helped us grieve for our abuela, or it helped us heal as a family. It helped us understand our traditions that come from way back. And it's so heartwarming to me. I've had non-Latinos come up and say, thank you for sharing this tradition. It's something we all experience at some time in our life, right? We all experience a loved one's passing. And to be able to celebrate that individual in a very Mexicano way is it's heartwarming, and it's been soul fulfilling.
Do you think, and I was someone that didn't actually grow up really knowing about Dia de los Muertos. It was like later in college and certainly being here in Sacramento, knowing more about it. And it is like this part of this connection, right? Of realizing that, although we've, lost, someone that we love, that their way that they stay alive is, through our memories and, being able to celebrate them. So Dia de los Muertos, I just want to delve a little bit into that is, happens to fall over Halloween weekend, right? So some people think it's like a Latino Halloween, which is not the case of what this is. Can you describe a little bit more about Dia de los Muertos and like where that, stems from?
Yes, it's a centuries old tradition that started with our antepasados, our
Mhm,
indigenous ancestors, and it was a way to acknowledge that death is a part of life.
mhm,
And when our loved ones pass on, it really was a continuation. So the concept behind Dia de los Muertos is that our antepasados, our departed loved ones, are still with us in some way.
mhm.
And Day of the Dead is the day they come back. They come back to us, and we sit and we have sodas or drinks or whatever. We share memories with them. We truly feel them with us on those days, and we put out things that call to them, like um, the reason why the candles, for example, are placed
Mhm.
on our ofrendas is to show them through the light, where they're supposed to go. The reason why cempasúchil, the marigold flower, is so important
Yeah.
is that it has a very pungent smell, and that's
Oh.
guide. It's to guide our muertos to where they're supposed to be. And then we have agua. We have the water on our altares so they can refresh themselves and they can have a refreshed journey back to wherever they came from. And we remember them, and so it's a relationship that continues even after their departure. And it's not it's not a scary thing that we're sitting with our departed loved ones. It really is a joyful occasion to say they moved on, but they're with us once a year, and we get to talk about our memories, and we get to laugh, and we play music, and we eat the food that we all enjoyed together. So it brings that family unity back into it and acknowledges that death is not a scary thing. It's a natural occurring event, which I think here in the United States gets it's not talked about in that way. And I think it's very healthy to talk about death as it's what happens. It's we all go at some time or another. And for example, I'm making one this year. I haven't in the past, but I've had 4 family members pass over the past 8 years, and so I'm making it an altar so that my brothers and my parents can be with me on that night.
That's so wonderful. I really appreciate that you shared about the marigold because I have to be honest, I've been wondering about that one for a really long time, that particular flower and
Mhm.
when that was. And it is such a, wonderful tradition, a wonderful way to, remember those that we love and, and get to celebrate. Although I always say they're with us all the time, it's nice to have that additional day where it gets amplified there. One of the other things too, Marie, and I think go back the arts part of everything. There's this concept I feel that when we look at the arts, that they're almost in categories, right? Like I share with people, Latino arts and diverse arts are part of the American experience, right? We're part of the fabric. It's not different. But yet there seems to be a reason, and I know it follows with sometimes with our small businesses and everything too, that it's not as valued and set. And why do you think that is? Like, why is something that someone might say, quote unquote, folk art will be, I don't know, $10,000, right? But the same piece that someone is making and selling on, on the side, they're like, oh, I'll give you $5 for it. Is it us? What do we need to do to show that there is a value to this, the art that's a part of our community?
I think it comes from decades ago when as Mexicanos and indigenous people, our lands were taken, we were devalued. And so when you're devalued as a human being, what else does devaluation mean? It means everything that is about you has to be devalued. I think that is there's definitely a change happening there. But in what I've experienced in the United States and in California and in the places I've lived here is that uh, there's a greater acknowledgement for wonderful artwork that comes from Western Europe,
Mhm.
and it's been a more of an assumed art form that is more valued. I think that's changing, and I think people are realizing that uh, there's such a broad definition of the arts. It's not only work that comes from Western Europe, symphonies, which I love, operas, which I love, but it is our folk traditions. It is those beautiful regalia, the trajes, the dresses that are beautifully embroidered and beautifully put together by our traditional dancers. It is about the symbolism that goes very deep into our cultural manifestations. And it is about contemporary work that all of that informs us as Latinos and informs our artwork. So when we haven't seen ourselves reflected in certain halls of what is considered art, then that disconnect, it gets even more deepened. It gets deepened within ourselves and within our community. So our effort is to show all the facets of what we do as Latinos, both contemporary and traditional, and keep that pride amongst our community and share with our broader community what we have to offer. And I have to say, our small businesses have been a very important part of what we do, and I can't thank them enough for this partnership, because they've also acknowledged that when we have events or when we do work that attracts people to business districts, that we're all supporting one another. Because our small businesses, I think, face a lot of the same ages old attitude, and we want to let them know that we're with them, and we are here to support you as you have supported us.
That's so great. And it's good to hear. And yes, I vouch for that, because I let people know all the time that our small business, especially our Latino owned businesses, that there's a value there, right? That it's not a place to go bargain, that there's a reason, there's a value for everything that's there. So I appreciate you saying that. There's also something that you were part of an effort that happened during the CARES funding to get funding out to artists. And it was part of, I want to make sure that I get this right, it was the Sacramento Artist Corps. And, you just said we were talking about small businesses, but a lot of people forget that there's a creative economy. Like, this is someone's, it's not just their passion, it's their living. And, we had the pandemic hit and a lot of things stopped. But you and, contemporary Richard Falcon, got together and you came up with a very creative way to really, assist. Can you talk about that and what it was? And I know it was also nationally recognized, the work
Yes.
that you did.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a fabulous project. I'll never forget, on March 15th, we had just put up an exhibition. And the artist had spent a great deal of time putting this exhibition up, and we shut down. I began to receive phone calls from people we work with. Now, we all have our careers and our professions, right? We have small businesses, we have teachers, we have our essential workers, and we have artists that come from our community. And our artists have always been at the edge of economic vitality, because there aren't a lot of roles in theater for Latinos, unless you start colorblind casting, and some theaters have. So our artists, people we contract with to do our plays, to do our events, to put up exhibitions, we're ready to give up the ghost. I guess that's a play on Dia de los Muertos, but they were desperate, because they had to put food on the table as well. And that a livelihood that they had counted on was gone from one day to the next. Now, we're not the only ones. So I know those of you who have had that experience, and who have had people come to you, or you yourself have had that experience, know what I'm talking about. So we had to shut down the entire center. We had to cancel all of our programs, and our artists were panicked. So not only that, but our community was being devastated by COVID-19. There was so much misinformation. There was so much that we didn't know. And there was so much that people weren't sure about what to do. So we put together the Artist Corps very quickly, and we were able to compensate artists to do work that messaged our community about COVID-19. Wear a mask. Don't be in crowds. Wash your hands. We had a coloring book for children that had a lot of these messages visually that they could color and also get the message from. We had videos. We had live streaming to talk with members of our community about experiences they were having around COVID-19. It was a remarkable project, because it could only last for 2 months, and we were able to accomplish two things. We fed our artists, because they were compensated for 2 months. they received $500 to $7,500 for 2 months of work, and we were able to make the messaging trilingual. It was in Tagalog, Spanish, and English.
Oh, wow.
So it was a fabulous project, and we'd love to replicate it, but we were so grateful that we received this money so that we could, at least for those 2 months, it was November and December, help our artists get through one of the toughest times of anybody's year, which is the holidays. And to not have money on your table, it's devastating. So I'm very proud of that project, and it is being now replicated in the state of California. The governor has allocated funds to the California Arts Council to do a California Creative Corps. And part of that was because of our project. It was shown as a model to California and to the nation through Americans for the Arts. So, and this was a Latino organization. You don't hear about it much. You often hear about the accomplishments of larger organizations. We're a small organization, even though we're regional, we're still small. And I'm very, very proud of that organization. Can do, si se puede. We did.
Well, you know what? I think it was a fantastic, outcome for so many, right? Taking care of the artist, and they were able to show their skill set and how they could contribute during this time to something that we've all said all the words. It's unprecedented. We didn't know what it was, and you're trying to get this information across. And I think it's interesting when we started this conversation, you said your passion started from the social justice part and how it's continued in these different realms. And I think that's another example of using art to get a message out to the community that's going to assist them and help. There's something else that you have coming up, and we talk about Dia de los Muertos and the event that's going to happen there. But I didn't realize this until, again, I was reading about you, and I didn't realize that you actually helped write this, and it's an event that's going to happen in December, La Pastarola, right?
Yes.
So you actually are one of the authors for it. I just thought this was a play that you found and you put on, Marie. So that's why I love doing this, because I find out these things and I'm like, oh my gosh. So
Well,
what made you write this?
Again,
to do
this
that.
was influenced by Luis Valdez. He started, he wrote a pastorela, and this is again based on a very old, centuries old. Our indigenous ancestors had a like community pageants to acknowledge certain seasons of planting or of rebirth, or acknowledging the solstice. And the pastorela comes from that. And then when the Spanish arrived, it was incorporated into a different kind of community pageant. And it's become a very, it can be very funny. In Mexico, it's done every December, and everybody does it differently. So we adapted our pastorela, which is the story of the shepherds going to find the Holy Family. And they're sent by Michael, the archangel, San Miguel. So what we did is we turned it into a contemporary pastorela, and our 4 shepherds are 4 people in Sacramento, Sacramentans, that are sent across the border. This is all natural realism, magical realism. And that they're sent across the border, and they're tempted by los diablos. The devils try to stop them from getting back to Sacramento, where they're told by San Miguel, you must go and save this family. Well, it turns out the family, when we get to the end of our story, is an undocumented family that's about to be thrown across the border, about to be picked up by ICE. And our 4 Sacramentans go through these changes. They stop the devils from getting the family, and they all go through some change themselves. They become less selfish, they become less greedy, and in the end, well, of course, San Miguel wins. There's a battle, and San Miguel and his angels prevail every year. I don't know how that happens, but every year they prevail.
And where will this take place? Where can people come and go and see this?
This will be at the Guild Theater. We're in partnership with the Oak Park Neighborhood Association. We're thrilled. And the Guild has been our home for this production for the last 4 years, except last year when we couldn't do it and it was streaming. And it seats about 250 people. It is bilingual. For example, here's one of the jokes, just to entice your public. Yeah. What if soy milk were really just milk, introducing itself in Spanish?
Book of soy milk.
Soy milk. Yeah, exactly. No, when that line is delivered by our Afghani veteran who's turned into a stand-up comic. He also has PTSD. And when he delivers that line, there's like silence for a moment in the audience, and then people go, "Ah!"
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
It's
remember
got-
that
it
all. I'm
has
gonna be thinking about
music.
that all day.
Remember that one, yes. There's music, there's laughter, there's children involved. It's just a fun family event, and it has become a tradition. We have people coming from San Jose. I had a family approach us in 2019, the last time we did it, saying we come every year from San Jose. So
Oh,
it's also, again, it's a way that we reestablish these traditions al estilo Latino from here, from Sacramento. You know what I mean? So
yes.
it wouldn't resonate in Mexico. This is a Sacramento based pastorela, and it's just so much fun, and our community they just get so much out of it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm gonna have to make sure to get my tickets early so that we're there to go
Great.
see it. So, I told you at the beginning what happens is our time goes by so quickly, and yet there's something incredibly important that we want to share, and we want to talk about what this means, because it's big, right? So the Latino Center for Art and Culture has had different homes over the course of almost 50 years, if I'm correct, right? It's almost the 50-year anniversary for it too. But then first day of Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th, year 2021, I was able to be there for a press conference where you received a big check, but also more importantly, a big building in Wynn Park, that this will be a home for the Latino Center for Art and Culture. So tell us how that came about and what that really means, to the organization and our community at large.
We have not had a home in Midtown. I'm so sorry. I think my dog's birth star is in Mercury or something, because he's just
No worries. I've got 3 dogs myself, Marie.
Yay!
Yeah.
We have been in homes around Sacramento, and our most current home is in Miller Park, and it's an old maintenance building without air conditioning, and because Council Member Katie Valenzuela and our Assembly Member Kevin McCarty have had so much appreciation for what we bring to Sacramento and to our economy, because we bring tourists and we bring local tourists. They took very seriously our need to have a home in the center of Midtown. And I'm delighted to say that the city received, through Assemblymember McCarty with Katie Valenzuela, Councilmember Katie Valenzuela's support, $1 million check to complete the renovation of a historic building in the center of Wynn Park that will be our new home. And we are thrilled. I can't tell you, this is a dream we've had. We hope that our first exhibition will reflect the art and culture contemporary of the Chicano Civil Rights Movement, with artists that have worked here for 50 years. We are the second oldest cultural institution in Sacramento, right after Fairy Tale Town.
Oh, wow.
We were next, and then I think the Crocker is the third. So we have a long-standing history, and I think that the council member and the assembly member realized that with 26% of our population in this county reflecting our communities, that it was the right thing to do, to find a place where our communities and our culture can be shared with everyone. It's a residential neighborhood. There's a park around it. We see ourselves having our Dia del Niño, which is a day that celebrates children, our Fiesta de Frida, which has a parade of children and Fridas and Diegos that can go around the park, and make it a hub for the neighborhood, make it a hub for the city, and let all of California know that the Latinos in our city, in our county, in Sacramento, are promoting, presenting, producing, creating work that stems from our art and culture and our cultural legacy. And that, again, it just says we're here, we contribute to the economy, we contribute to the arts, we contribute to education, we contribute to health and social services, and we're proud of that, and we're partners with all of our communities.
That's so great, Marie. I can't tell you. I was so excited to get to be there and share in the celebration of it. But I'm actually much happier that we have someone like you here in Sacramento that's constantly been a champion, an advocate, supporter, a fighter, and a warrior, for the arts, and in particular the Latino arts here in Sacramento. We're so fortunate to have someone of your caliber here who has continually led the torch for so many. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. And we appreciate so much what you've done. And thank you so much for being with us this afternoon here with Juntos and sharing a little bit more about you and what's happening here with the Latino arts. We will be sharing all the events that you have coming up, and of course, be supporting as we can out there. So thank you so much for being out here, and thank you so much again for sharing with us. And
thank you, Cathy. The sentiment is mutual. You're one of our strongest advocates. I am honored and humbled to stand with you when we are advocating for our community. Strength to us all.
Gracias, Marie. That means a lot to me coming from you. So thank you. Everyone that joined us today, be sure to look up, the Latino Center for Art and Culture. Get these dates on your calendar and, go to Dia los Muertos at the end of the month, La Pasarola that's coming up in December, and look for the additional exhibits and exciting projects that are coming up, especially as they get Wynn Park location up and ready for people to come and see. This is an incredible organization that has been here for almost 50 years, and it is celebratory for our Latino community, but it's inclusive of everyone. So it's meant to be for our entire community to come and enjoy. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining Juntos with Cathy today. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday, and we will see you not next week, but we'll see you the following week on November 4th. So thanks so much, and have a great afternoon.